The greatest miracle in the world. I can't wait to share this with you, but first I'm going to say hello to my people in my chat, the inner circle, and then we'll get started just in a few seconds. So, hello, Bill Shoemaker. Hi, Craig, Jerome. Jerome, thank you so much for being a super chatter. The orphans and the kids are going to love it. Um, Thank you so much. Thank you, Bill Shoemaker. I just love and appreciate you. Thank you, Sarah and Jody, Lisa Marie, John, Sarah, Melody, Orla, Matthew, James, Sandy, Jimmy. Thank you guys so much. And we're already a couple of seconds in, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, Peter. Hello, my name is Robert Hollis, and our subject for today is the greatest miracle in the world. I just love this story because this is really, really, truly what made me who I am today. I know there might be a lot of mentors, a lot of books, a lot of coaches, a lot of things that, of course, keep impacting me. That's made me who I am today. But I truly believe without this book, nothing else would happen. Absolutely nothing else will happen. And let me explain why. It doesn't make a difference if I understand the principles and the thoughts behind the science of getting rich or the strangest secret or Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. All these books are incredible for stretching your mind. The problem is if you don't love you and you don't believe in you and you don't believe that you can help others to the promised land, if you don't believe enough in yourself, then you're not going to do anything. And so you think about all the things in your life, everything in your life that you hesitated through fear, false emotions appearing real, false evidence appearing real. And when I met my second mentor at that time was a guy named Bill Gould. And you can tell from someone's language. You can tell from someone's language and the way that they speak where they are about their abilities, how much they love themselves, how much they believe in themselves, and how much they believe that they can just be a messenger for something bigger than them. Wow. You don't have to be smart, you don't have to be good looking, you don't have to be intelligent. All the things that we think in our mind that we need to have are not true. See, that's our perspective. That's our belief system. That's what we think. So I know when I was talking to my mentor, he asked me questions like, hey, so tell me where you're at. And it's like, well, I've been on workman's comp for 9 months. I've lost everything, including my relationships with my now wife and my son. I was a single father. Um, I think I'm going to be homeless. I don't have any money. I don't have any electricity. Um, I'm so massively in debt. Um, all he asked me is what I like most about what I just seen. That's all he asked me. He said, "Hey, hi, I'm Bill. Hi, I'm Bobby, because I was a mechanic." And he's going, "So what'd you like most about what you seen?" And at that time, he just showed me the plan. And I went, "Well, I'm on workman's comp." That's not an answer to, um, that's not an answer. You see what I mean? What I was doing is I was immediately telling my story, my trauma story, my woes is me story, my victim story, my blame this, blame that, blame this, blame that, blame this, blame that. That's what I was telling, how awful everything was for me. And so he knew, not at the time I didn't know. is he knew that if he didn't get me to believe in me and look at myself as being valuable, enough, worthy, uh, worthy of receiving, he knew that he couldn't get me to that, then everything that he taught me was going to be a waste of time. And this is a part of sorting, right? I tell people all the time, and this is just a philosophy I have, nothing to document this. I believe that when you hear of all the successful people in the world, regardless of what they do, all the happy people in the world, all the people that have made a huge impact on humanity, if you were to ask them what their favorite mentor was, or book, or inspirational quote, or course, I think I said mentor, but I'll say it again. I truly believe that when you draw a line in the sand and say, I'm not living like this anymore, I'm tired of living like this. I haven't told this story in a while. But my thing is I had a used Celica, had a different colored fender on every corner. And it was just a car that I picked up for nothing, and then, fixed the motor and stuff. And that was like a free car for me. And so I ran out of money and I didn't want to be evicted. So what I did is I got a loan from a pawn store because I owned the car outright. And so I was behind 3 months payments on this car. And they called me all the time, and they had a repo man that was following me. I'd have to always park where he couldn't find me, outrun him, right? And so we were driving home, and all of a sudden I just knew that it was like a couple of blocks away from where I was lived. So I pulled over. And when I pulled over, my son at that time was really young, Robert Hollis Jr. He said, Dad, if you just go up a couple of blocks and hang a left and then another left, you'll be at our apartment. And I didn't know how to tell my son, listen, your dad is behind on payments on this car and I'm hiding it. I'm hiding it so it doesn't get taken away from me. And I just went, oh my God, me explaining this to, believe he was 5 or 6 at the time. I'm just like, what the hell? I don't want to live like this anymore. I'm done. And so, of course, the first thing that I did is I surrendered and asked for help. And at that time, it had nothing to do with just other than I had been totally stripped of my identity. I wasn't a mechanic anymore. The physical therapy person was basically telling me to stop working out my leg or he's going to take the personal therapy away because I was exercising it more than I was supposed to, because I needed to go back and get a job. And so all of a sudden, I'm like, God, I gotta find something. I got, the workman comp people are telling me that I got to do a couple of job interviews per month and get a signed piece of paper to stay on my whopping $900 a month. And I was going in debt every single month. And so that was it for me. I don't know what it would be for you, or have you ever experienced that? And it's different for everyone because we're unique. But I just wasn't going to live like that anymore. No, no more. I'm done. I'm done. And so that opened me up. Your mind's like a parachute. That opened me up to stop being a know-it-all, to stop being a right fighter. And that was that surrender part where all of a sudden in the book I have, how is that working? Rat Race to Freedom. This is my Rags to Riches story. You can go to roberthollis.com/free and get a free copy of it. And it was in my story where that was, I've had enough. I'm not living one day like this again. That got me open-minded enough to get in front of my mentor, Bill Gould. And all Sean said, right person at the right time, is I met this guy. He showed me his check for 62 grand. and he's looking for people that he could train to make six figures their first year with him. And I wanted to meet him. So now I meet him and he asked me a question, and I immediately got this story that I've been telling the world that I wrote in my book, that, that I got taken away from my parents when I was really, really young, that I went from foster home to foster home. I had all these issues and hung around the wrong people and got in trouble, stole a beer truck. And, so I was telling this, oh, woe is me story. And so Bill listened to me and he said, hey, listen, he went into wherever his briefcase was. And he said, listen, I want to show you this book. It says it's the greatest miracle in the world by Og Mandino. And he goes, listen, you need to go to a bookstore when you leave here. You got to get that book and you got to read it. And when he said that, I didn't say, well, I don't read books. I'm dyslexic. I went to special, I was the guy that rode the short bus, and I was in special classes because of being dyslexic. They didn't know how to dissect, or what is it, label me. Doing that, I knew immediately that what he was telling me I needed to do, that I was going to follow. And so I did it right away. In fact, that was like on a Saturday afternoon. I'll never forget that day. And I went and got this book and I sat down and read it. And because of my difficulty in reading, the blessing that I got in the superpower is retention, right? So I'm reading this thing word for word, just reading word for word for word. And then all of a sudden it gets to this chapter 9 that I seen Craig posting, And for those of you that have had it up to here with organized religion, this has nothing to do with organized religion. So if you allow a lot of things to pop up into your mind that stops you from listening to people, just understand that that's your decision. And I just want to ask you, how do you know that? How do you know that? Why wouldn't you read something unjudgmental, or trying to find red flags, or trying to find another reason why you should stay where you are, instead of being more successful, whatever that definition is, more happy, whatever that definition is, more successful, whatever that is, right? And so when I read the book and it got to chapter 9 and I read it, it changed my whole life. Now, I believe that this book changed my whole life is because I was ready for change and I had already made a decision to change, right? And so when I read this book, of course, when I got done to chapter 9 and tried to pull myself together, I just immediately realized by reading this book that I was a miracle, that I was unique, that I didn't have to be like anybody else and no one had to be like me. And that I really, truly, because I believed in that being a miracle, I believed I could do anything that I needed to do. All of a sudden, I wasn't worried about all the things that I labeled in the past. And I'll never forget one of the last lines that is said in chapter 9. And I'll read this to you. As it says, remember the 4 laws of happiness and success. Count your blessings, proclaim your rarity, go the extra mile, use wisely your power of choice. And then it says, and one more, to fulfill the other 4. Do all things with love, love yourself, love for all others, and love for me. And it says, wipe away the tears, reach out, grasp my hand, and stand straight. Let me cut the grave cloths that you have bound yourself with. This day you have been notified. You're the greatest miracle in the world. And When I read that, it emotionally impacted me so much, significant emotional event, that immediately what I did is I called Bill. And as soon as he answered, he goes, I said, I read the book. And he goes, okay. And I said, I'm ready. He says, ready for what? I said, I'm ready to do whatever you tell me to do. He goes, what are you doing this weekend? And I go, whatever you tell me. And I lived 3 hours away from him. And I got in that piece of shit Celica, drove down and stayed in my car in the parking lot, and immediately started learning from this guy. And everything that he told me to do, say as little as possible to as many people as you can, as fast as you can. The day that, and one of the things I usually don't give away, this secret, but it says in the book that you're supposed to read chapter 9 for 100 days in a row. And I, at that point in time, just went, I don't like anything in my life. I needed to repair my beliefs about who I was. I needed to repair things that happened to me in the past and all the people that I felt wronged me. I needed to build a relationship with my son. I had to build a relationship with my girlfriend that's now been in my life for 40 years. um, I needed to earn money. I needed to feel worthy. And when I knew that this guy had already helped other people achieve success, whatever definition that is for you, then I knew at that point for the rest of my life. And I want you guys to sort of, people that watch this video a lot, think about this. Mentally, in my mind at that point in time, doing exactly what he told me to do. In my first 30 days working with him, I made over $10,210. Now, if you go back in the 80s and try to convert that to money today, man, if you went from the 60s, it's 10 times as more. So it's at least double, right? So, can you imagine getting a check or getting ACH, a deposit for $20,000? This was in the mid 80s. Yeah. It rocked and changed my life forever. And what I've been able to do since that was a mentor that was smart enough to know if I was the right person at the right time, that he could give me a book to get me to believe in myself, to believe that I'm a miracle, that I love myself, and I then fell in love with other people. And it's Matt, my son, gave me the title for this today. And I never even thought about this, So the post that I posted today is really, really simple because, again, in my whole life, everything for me is simplicity. Excuse me. And so this is very simple. The post that I posted today. Anyone that does not love, anyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love. So there's a lot of people out there that are trying to figure out their spirituality. What is God? What is whatever? It's like, it's really, really all comes down to the word love. And if you don't work on learning to love yourself, I mean, if someone said to you, imagine that, I want you to write down 5 things that you love the most. And you're going, okay, okay, okay. So I just start writing them down. I just start writing them down. And then you hand them to somebody and they look at them, they go, you forgot to put you on there. See, all of my mentors had really cool little sayings, from Bill to Jim Rohn to Bob Proctor, to all the people that I've leaned on in my life. And one of the things that's very unique is that every one of them talks about learning to love yourself, learning to love yourself. And if you do not love yourself, then how can you love someone else? Why would you care for anybody? So you find these people out there that they're the exact definition of no love, zero love for themselves, for others, for the world. There's nothing there. And then this person tries to go out and convince other people to buy stuff or get involved in things when the person really doesn't even care for themselves or others. So the last part of this story is pretty amazing. So I told myself, hey, listen, all I'm going to do for the rest of my life is I'm going to build relationships with people by giving away the knowledge and wisdom of this book. When I catch the right people at the right time and give them a chapter of this book, chapter 9, to get them to, if they just listen to chapter 9 and that inspired them to listen to the rest of the book, all right, I still don't know if it's on audio, but that link that we sent you, James, thank you so much. I knew at that moment in my life, all I did is connect with people at the right time in their life, hopefully, and I shared with them this book and told them to get it and read it and do the thing inside of it, that their whole life would change. And so one of my biggest success stories is I got challenged by my mentor, Bill. And he said, hey, listen, I said, I want to be on the Knights of the Round Table. There's 25 people that were round table members. And then there was 7 Knights of the Round Table. At that time, there was only 5. And I said, I want to be on this Knights of the Round Table. And he said, Robert, you got to duplicate. You have all these offices. At that time, I was in my late 20s, early 30s. And all of a sudden, I just said, hey, he said, you got offices and you're making, at that time, I was making like 40,000 a month. And God, it's hard to believe that I was making that kind of money that long ago. And all of a sudden, what he said is, listen, Robert, if you go to a city that we don't have an office in, I want you to find somebody, do what I taught you, and duplicate what you've done in California in another state, another city. I said, deal. If that's what it's going to take to get me on the Knights of the Round Table, I'll do it. I contacted everyone in my office in Encino, and there was a guy named Richard Wickline. And Richard Wickline said, I got this guy. This is his real name, Jim Brown, and he's in Detroit. And so we called him. I told Jim, listen, I'm coming there. I want to work directly with you. And he said, sure. And so he picked me up at the airport, and I found out that he handles baggage at the airport. We drive public transportation, MARTA, I believe, or maybe that's in Atlanta now that I think about it. But in Detroit, we took a couple of subways, then buses to get to his home. And he just had an apartment in the downtown Detroit, man. And I immediately asked him who he knew, just like I talk about in the professor video. And he said, well, go meet these guys. We went and met him. One guy owned an insurance company. And he said, listen, I got an extra office. If you want to go in the office, I had a phone installed. I started immediately calling people. And there was this girl named Lynn Martinez that I put a small ad in the paper, and the ad under sales management, it said, sales managers. And it says, unbelievable, big blow letters. And it said, ex-auto mechanic now makes 6 figures a year, looking for 5 people, no experience necessary. Call this number. So Lynn Martinez called me. I tell her, hey, listen, I want to meet you. I want to share exactly what you do, what's going on. She shows up. She says, I don't have any money. I just got laid off from the jewelry store. And I said, listen, if I could show you how to make money, and you didn't have to put in a dime, would you be interested? She said, sure. And I immediately did the things that I learned. And I told her she needed to go get this book. Okay. So she introduces me to these two guys, Tony and Mike Kupas. They're identical twins. Today they own a part owners of ACN. This company's probably been in business now over 30 years, done billions of dollars in revenue. And so I meet Tony and Mike, and I again tell them about this book. And it's one of those things where the people that really grab the book and say, hey, listen, if this works for Robert, I believe it'll work for me. That's when all of a sudden everything seems to change. And so we were going to a meeting. Tony and Mike was in the vehicle with me. And we were going to a meeting, and all of a sudden there was an accident on the freeway. And so we just went, oh my God, what are we going to do? And I said, no big deal. Let's just take some side streets. So I took a left and then drove down until I found my first right. And then I took a right. And all of a sudden we're going down there. And I don't know if you guys have ever done this. I'm being funny when I say it. Is, everyone came up with that idea. So now we're blocked on this side street. We're going, oh my God, what are we going to do? And all of a sudden I turned to my right, and there was a sign for a church. And it said, speaker today, Og Mandino. I am not, oh my God, the story still blows my mind. And I went, what? I've never met him, never seen him. And I went, are you kidding me? Yeah. Are you kidding me? And I looked at Tony and Mike, and they went, this happened for a reason. And we went right into it. It was just starting. And we had to stand like in a balcony kind of part of this pretty big church. And we went in, and Og Mandino comes out. And he's one of those people that, I mean, in just moments, he had me, Tony, and Mike just crying. And he was talking about just how destitute and how bad his life was, that he was homeless. And all of a sudden what he did is he said he'd been homeless for a while. And then he said that he slept on some, steps of a church. And then all of a sudden the choir was practicing, and he went in. And so that's where all of his books came from. And so he immediately started writing these books, and there's a number of Og Mandino bookstores stories. And man, it wasn't by accident. I know a lot of people look at their lives as being lucky. But for me to be shared with this book, me believing in it, sharing it with Lynn, then sharing it with Mike and Tony, and for us to be able to see him live, speaking at a church, was a miracle all in its own. And so that brings me down to the closing statement for this is there's two groups of people on the planet, only two groups: people that don't believe in miracles, and other people that believe everything's a miracle. So my question to you is, if you're a kind of person that never believed that you're a miracle, that you don't love yourself, you don't think that's important, you think that's all BS, whatever it is, then I just have a simple question for you: is how is that working for you? How is that working for you? So what if the true secret was just that? Because there's two ways to listen and hear everything. One is with, this guard that's standing in front of your mind that's constantly telling you, that's not right, that's BS, that's not really true. And then you got the other thing that was like, well, what if? What if, with a great attitude, I not only study this book, study it. I still crack up today. People go, yeah, I read that book. Yeah, wow, okay. Yeah, it didn't do anything with your life with it? Interesting. So if I spent the rest of my life doing nothing but helping people at the right time in the right place, when I don't know if they're asking, if they're stuck, or they believe they're a victim, they believe that, the world's robbed them, they've learned hopelessness. If all I can do is on a day-to-day basis plant seeds in fertile ground, and let the rest take care of itself, because not only am I a miracle, you're a miracle. And if you don't really truly believe that, why not give it a shot? If not this, then what? If not now, then when? And if not you, then who? So I love and appreciate you. The only reason my lifestyle is where it is today and the amount of people that I've been able to help and impact is because I stood on the shoulders of people that did it before me. This life that we live is very simplistic, but everyone else tries to complicate it. When you can get rid of get to the bottom line and cut all the fat off and just get to the basics, each and every day, you got to work on you. You got to work on you. And you can do it. It's simple. It doesn't take much time. But each and every day, if you consistently get better, then when you change your thoughts, the renewing of the mind, then changes the heart. And then you say different words about yourself. That's The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. You become what you think about the most. So you can be a wonderful becoming, or you can spend all your time thinking about the injustice and how awful you are and all the stuff that hasn't worked for you. Why not give it a shot? Why not see if it'll change for you? I believe it will. So I love and appreciate you. Please do me a huge favor. Share this video with others. And, please subscribe and like, make a comment. Let's make this video get out there and get out to a lot of people, because everybody wants to know how do I do this? How does this work? I don't understand this. I'm frustrated. I'm confused. I'm overwhelmed. I'm angry. This stuff doesn't work. This is BS. See, they're all stuck in that mindset, and they don't realize that once they change the thought, then they change their actions. And when they change their actions, as soon as you change your thoughts, you change who you are. I'm not scared of changing. I'm scared of being in the same place as I was a year ago. So I believe in you. If I can do it, you can do it. And I love and appreciate you again. Please share this video. Do me a huge favor and share this video. And have a great day. We'll see you soon.